Hello, thank you for logging on today. I'd like to talk about communication today. Now, communication can be very simple in terms of its definition, where it simply just means passing information from one medium to the other. So I'm talking to you now, I am communicating with you. But there's usually two mediums for communication, and the intention of communication is that the message is understood by the receiver. So when you're communicating, but the person the message is meant for does not understand it, you've not effectively communicated. So in communication, there's two elements to it. The first part, which is the talking, and that's very important. And then the second part, which is the listening. I'll give you an example in scripture. So there was this group of people. They wanted to build the Tower of Babel. So they went about and found this place. And according to that ancient book, the Bible, it says these people were of one mind and were of one language. They were of one accord. In other words, they were united, if you like. The scriptures tell us God came down, saw what they were doing, and then God said, actually, these people are united of one mind, one language, one accord. Let us disconfound them. Let us scatter their language. And so God decided to break up this great edifice, this great tower that they were doing by confusing their language, and therefore they not understanding themselves. In fact, what the Bible actually says was, God therefore confused their language, and they did not understand themselves anymore. They were not able to understand themselves. So when you're communicating, always pay attention to your listener. Are they understanding you? So for example, you might like to speak very good English, very big grammar, or you might like to add some types of phonetics to how you talk. And you can say, oh, well, this is just how I talk. Yes, that's great. But if the person you're talking to is not understanding you, then you're missing the point. Then that message you're trying to pass across will not get understood. And therefore, what you're trying to build, the outcomes you're trying to achieve, you would miss it. This is why relationships struggle. Because we are all coming from different backgrounds, and we expect that when we communicate in the language that this person understands and the other person understands, that I understand, they should just understand it. But the reality is, many are not understanding it for the very same reason that the scriptures talk about. So, yes, language can be one. Listen to this. But there are different types of language. Body language, your obviously your local dialect. If you speak English, that's one language. If you speak French, that's another language. But the emotional languages. And so if there's one of those languages that are not aligned, misunderstanding comes and you don't understand yourself anymore. So how then do we improve on this? The first thing to do is to pay attention. A lot of us, when we communicate, we're not self-aware. We're not aware of the environment or the situation, the circumstance, or of the listener. We're not even aware of them. We just go on talking and talking and talking. I mean, some simple tricks to use when you're communicating is to repeat the message. Another is just to make it as simple as ABC. Accurate, brief, and clear. ABC. Because sometimes when you're communicating and the message becomes convoluted, in other words, it's very lengthy, there's a risk that the person will drift off. How many of us, when we're listening to something or even watching something, we get distracted very quickly? Yeah, there's that risk that could happen. So you make your communication brief, to the point, simple. You'll be more effective in that case. It's better to speak for 1 minute and the message is understood than to speak for 5 hours and the message is missing completely. So that's one element of communication. But the other part of it is the listening part, which I'll go into next. Well, we're out of time today, so thank you for listening today, and God bless you. And tune in again for the next episode. God bless you.